Good. All right. Well, welcome back. We're a little light today. That makes me a little nervous. So we will be starting our curriculum mapping adventure. What we have, and I'm using we generously, so you know, what the teaching and learning department has put together is really well done. They put all of your slides together, and we're going to explain today how to go over all of the facilitation pieces. And look at those boxes back there. Just really good little coat of all the things you could possibly need. So, do you want to recognize a couple of new faces in the crowd? Actually, only one. James, why don't you introduce yourself?
Morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, everyone. My name is JP Helford, and it's school at Greenville. Excited to be working with you all, and exciting to tell you, of course, the next step.
Great. And Rebecca.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Robbins. I'll be with Katie and Jake at the middle school. I'm excited to work with you all.
And so I am going to turn it over to Erica.
Thank you guys for coming in. So as a facilitator, we wanted to try to make it as easy as possible. And we put a lot of your feedback that you gave to us back in July. And one of them was we want a presentation that we're going to use. So today we're going to walk you through the presentation and show you what you need to do and what is optional. So I just came around and provided everyone a copy of a checklist here. This checklist is going to go through the slides and it highlights slides you're going to have to do and not have to do. So anything that is in blue on the title slide is slides that you're going to have to cover because we want to have a consistent message to all of our staff. And then anything that is in black checkbox, those are going to be slides that you have the option to do. So we thought, why don't we lay all of the slides out, and then you can kind of go, when you're going through them that day, you can kind of walk yourself through it. We gave it to you now because I think it's going to be beneficial for you maybe to take notes on. And we didn't print it back to back, so you have a little bit of space here. We're going to send it to you electronically too. So if you need to print it out again and add notes, and today, again, we're going to take your feedback. So if we add a slide to the presentation, obviously we'll add it to this checklist and send it to you. In addition, when we send this to you electronically, we will have a link here that you can print directly here for the presentation and the speaker notes that we'll talk you through that. In addition to this checklist guide, as Kimberly kind of already showed you, we have created bins for you with resources of sticky notes, pens, highlighters, and then our key documents that we always refer to, like the DOK, our CLE protocol, just lots of the documents that we went through. You will have time at the end to kind of go through the bins and let us know, provide us feedback. Okay, we need this from this group, and then we'll go and have that ready for you for next week.
Markers are coming.
Yes.
So we already got like markers.
In addition to the checklist, we also went back. Becca had started creating that facilitation guide that's signed out. She definitely cleaned this up to make it much more friendly. I know that this is not currently in front of you, but you can take this from your bin when we go through the bins. All right, I am going to turn it over to Jen. She is going to kind of go over this beginning portion of part one of the slides.
Yes. All right. So we're gonna try to take you through the facilitator training as if you were gonna lead it. So we've chunked it, part one, part two, part three, for the day of August 20th. We're gonna present each part to you. Then we will stop and take questions, answers, and do some feedback in case things that we didn't think of that you may have been wondering. All right. Okay. So when that day we come back just in a few days. I think it's no, today's Thursday. So less than a week away, believe it or not. We're gonna have a pre-mapping survey occur. And the pre-mapping survey is very important. We're looking for 100% participation in this. It's not very long, won't take the participants very long. There's multiple options to access the survey, including this QR code here. You have to make sure that your participants in your group select August 20th. There's 2 dates because we're going to give it the same survey again at the end of the year so that we can report out on people's perceptions of the process of curriculum, what curriculum is, of what mapping, and this is one of our goals that we are working on. So we want to make sure that it's measurable and actionable. And we talked about we have a pre and post survey. We talked about we'll do like some kind of mid-year like check-in, not a formal survey. Okay, so that is the survey. Okay, and then so on your on each slide, there is either a black or a blue heading. All of those indicate which ones are your must-do slides and then which ones are your may-do slides. So your blue ones are the must-dos. Those we want everybody in the district to get that same experience. The black bar is our optional activities that you can decide what your group needs. All right. So then the agenda, we have part 1, which I'm going to take you through right now, and we're going to watch the video. So this is a big point. One of the things we heard was that you really wanted like a consistent message that everybody in the district heard. We spent a lot of time as a team discussing whether or not we were going to bring everyone down to the auditorium and it would be an in-person message, or what we would do. We've had a different reiteration of the videos and all kinds of slides. But most importantly, we figured in the essence of time, we have very limited amount of time to do this important work. We have Kimberly, we recorded a video. Kelly and Brenna worked with Kimberly to record a video, kind of giving our launch message, with the thought that when we come together all again that following day for the official district kickoff, we could reiterate some things in person. But this way would save time from everyone heading to the auditorium, sitting down, hearing a 5-minute message, and then a few slides, and then another transition. We know, right? Teachers, we try to like minimize our transitions, get most use of our time. So that's kind of our thought process rationale. We're going to take a quick look at the video and see if it captures everything that you guys provided to us from your feedback when we met in another month, July. I'm like, I don't even know. So, all right, so we watched the video. Is it on this one? Oh.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm very excited about the work we're going to be doing this school year. We're going to be curriculum mapping this year. You have incredible facilitators who have spent 4 days in facilitation training for curriculum mapping. And I'm going to spend the next 5-6 minutes explaining what that journey looks like over the next 2 years. I am so impressed with the work we've already done. And we're going to take all of that work as foundation to build the next level of teaching and learning for our students here in Kent.
At Kent Consolidated School District, we believe every student deserves a high quality, aligned education, regardless of which school or which classroom they happen to be in. That's why we're investing in something powerful, curriculum mapping. Curriculum mapping means clearly documenting what we teach, when we teach it, and how we teach it across every subject and every grade level. It helps teachers align instruction to standards, avoid gaps or repetition, and ensure that students have consistent, meaningful learning experiences. This work begins with purpose. In spring of 2025, we created the profile of a KCSD graduate, our shared vision of skills and mindsets every student should develop. Alongside that, we built grade span profiles and refreshed our instructional focus to guide expectations from kindergarten through 12th grade. During the summer of 2025, our curriculum facilitators received training on and about the mapping process. We launched the Atlas platform, and we started mapping in priority areas like middle school science, personal finance, and a bit in ELA at elementary level. Throughout the 2025-2026 school year, we will collaborate during in-service days and Monday hours. Between March and May of 2026, we'll be able to submit the first wave of curriculum maps for school board approval. During the spring of 2026, we'll finalize our cornerstone experiences, which are real-world, high-impact learning moments aligned to our profile of graduate. During the 2026-2027 school year, we will bring those cornerstone experiences to light and continue curriculum mapping across all subjects. Between March and May of 2027, the second wave of maps will move forward for board approval. Our timeline respects the different grade levels and subjects may need more or less time. This work connects all 6 of our KCSD schools. It ensures every student receives equitable learning opportunities. It gives teachers a shared framework for planning. It begins to move us away from our program dependence to a solid understanding and meaningful curriculum that repositions the teacher as the expert in the classroom. And it gives families a clearer view of what students are learning and why. We're aligning our work so every learner can thrive. We're setting a clear course for teaching and learning in KCSD, and we're creating a shared roadmap for student success. Work is never easy, not when it's really well done. It's not linear. Sometimes you're going to feel like you've taken 3 steps forward only to take 5 steps backwards. What I can tell you about the process is it's completely worth it. This work will position us to offer a guaranteed viable curriculum to every KCSD student. You're in great hands with your facilitators. I am looking forward to our continued work together. Have a great day, and let's go Kennett.
Okay. Oh, it's our full box and all those. Yeah.
That's our video. We're gonna come back to feedback, questions, all that, once we get through, our part 1, so we can do all that feedback at one time. All right, so where do we leave off? Okay, so one other thing is, this slide deck that you have is the master copy. So we want to make sure that you're mindful of that, when you're utilizing it, that this is the master copy here. So what else?
Feel free to make a copy of it.
Yes, I would probably be better at explaining.
You can totally do that.
And you actually really should make
Yeah.
a copy, because you guys are all entering at different points. And so you may want to move a slide here, move a slide there. You might want to change what it says. You might want to change how it feels in some of those. So we encourage you to please make a copy of that work so that you can make it your own.
But don't do it now because we're getting your feedback today and it might change. So wait until the changes come out, probably after tomorrow.
And we have it playing in this mode here, so you can see that each slide comes with talking points at the bottom as well. And we're gonna create a PDF for you of all the slides that have the talking points next to them.
And the other thing to be mindful of when you make a copy, and you're selecting between your blue and your black, your optional and your mandatory, your timing and what your group is going to really need. Like, does your group, like, what kind of icebreaker do they need? Like, feel that, because you want to be mindful of the chunks of time that we have and the work to get done, especially because that part 3 after lunch, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is a big lift for the Wednesday of the first week back for everyone, when we know lots of other things are going on. So be mindful that you don't spend all your time right out of the gate with some of those optional activities. All right, so now we'll do questions and things. So
what we'd like you to do, that first part, this launch, goes pretty quickly, right? You have the video that ever sets the tone. And we've identified 30 minutes for that, 8:30 to 9. You guys will all have your bins that you'll see. You'll get a chance to get into those bins and you'll get a chance to see what's in it. But think about the slides that you've seen, the welcome to set the stage, the video. The pre-survey really is 3 questions. And I would encourage you guys to do it before you go in with your teams next Wednesday. It's 3 questions. I think it'll take maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute. So it will go quickly. But what we'd like you to do right now is just kind of process what you've heard for this first 30-minute chunk. What questions are circling for you? What things do you like? What things do you think might be missing? Spend 3 minutes at your table having some discussion about just that part 1, the launch, to set the expectations for this work. And then also, before you do that, one thing I might want to encourage you to do is in that 30 minutes also set some roles and expectations, right? So we want to make sure you stay on time. So who's going to be your note taker? Who's going to be your timekeeper? You're obviously the facilitator, but encourage people to take roles and ownership during the meetings. So you might want to add a slide for that as well. So 3 minutes, I'll set the timer, talk about the launch, part 1, what questions are circling or what questions will you have? And then we'll make a frequently asked questions and dig into those a little bit deeper.
part 1 goes through slide 12 or so. I think right at the end where we end with that quote. So you could take a look at those slides as you're kind of settling it into your thoughts.
The role thing was perfect. We should have that in this slide. Yeah, well, you just ours. You need this. Yes, that's, yeah.
Well, yes, every slide that. If there's things that are like.
Then that's what's gonna be nice. There's been so many us. You'll have to. You probably say, it's like. There we go, there's.
It's just not here saying who. I didn't. I didn't. Just-
One of the questions that they're asking is they see us using this now, or they just study the further. Let's go, can you show that document? I know. That's what I know. I know.
It's in the middle, because I was like, oh my God, I'm doing someone else's, because I was doing the slides. Like, Eric, oh, I did the slide and checklist, and then I was like, oh, I'm doing part one, remapping, but then I forgot, so. So I couldn't do the part one. Well, I told him to look for it.
Who's capturing this question?
I'm gonna leave
We want to bring you back in 10. In 5. 3. Finish up your final thoughts. And 1. All right, so what burning questions do you have just in part 1? What burning questions?
Katie, ask your question, yeah.
Oh, I asked who was gonna be in my room.
We forgot to tell you, like that's an important question. We figured out who was gonna be, we divvied up everybody and put them in groups. So that, I mean, that is a huge thing we forgot to tell you. So Erica's gonna show you right now, everyone's going to get access to this document. It's gonna be sent out by us to all employees. Every employee's name is on here, we think, so we need your help. Make sure they're all on here. And everybody has a different category. They're all assigned to. Like here, they can go find their name, and then they've all been assigned to this, and then it'll say your name is a facilitator, and then we've chosen locations in the high school already. So we took out like a map of the high school, and we put like all the math together, all the science together. We tried to use the preferred locations that you gave us for the most part. There's 2 tabs to this document. The staff list, where first they find out what group they're in. Then you go to the subject area document. And then you can see who's in the same room together. Like ELA grade 1, grade 2, they're all in the same room. This is their facilitator, and something we forgot to add is the room number there. We'll add that to the end. And it's gonna link to a document that we've created for you already.
And right now, the staff list is already organized or grouped together of who's working on it. When we send it out to the staff, we'll organize it to be in alphabetical order so they can just go down and find your name a little bit easier.
We'll be in the lobby that day.
Yep.
Like,
And we'll have, like, yeah, we'll have it printed off as
it's like
well.
the first day of school.
So facilitator, just for health and PE, where I am. It says K to 12. I know Lisa and I are secondary and Jake is elementary. Are we all still, excuse me, are we separating at some point during that day? Or are we all together K to 12?
I think you're all in the same room.
For-
Yes.
For good,
Yeah.
For that, yeah.
for that day.
Yeah, so then you can kind of subdivide within the room.
Right, and that was our, when we were planning, the
Yeah.
3 of us,
Yeah.
because of the time differences throughout
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Monday hours and everything.
Yeah.
like,
If there is an in-service day dedicated to curriculum mapping, that's your location.
Got it.
It's always gonna be here and it's always gonna be in that same location. Monday hours are gonna be virtual and kind of weird, so if there is a curriculum mapping in-service day, this is your location. All right, so that was like number 1 burning question answered. Go ahead, Dean.
We have time to meet with the other facilitators that we're working with today so that we can map it out even further, since some of us have 3 together, so I haven't talked to them yet.
Good question. We have till 12:30 today, and I don't anticipate us taking this entire time to go through it, so I would think there would be time after we.
Okay,
I would think that's a good idea.
It's a great question.
Can we send out something, I'm not saying they have to, but can I send out like to my group, can I say, hey, it's Marie, I'm your facilitator, like. If we're going through the before, if anybody has any questions, like after you send out, just to like, as an introduction.
I think that's great.
And
Don't make them feel anything you think to make them feel more comfortable.
and when will you send this out?
What do we think?
Monday. Because Monday I'll remind them to register in professional learning billing service again. I'll resend the schedule. And I thought sending this last week wouldn't have really been relevant while it's not on people's radar what they're doing. But then them understanding that they're coming here. We'll also be in the lobby on that morning. So when you guys are in your rooms waiting for them to arrive, we'll be directing.
And we'll also link it in that in-service schedule.
Yeah.
And it's not the worst idea, principals, if you go to say, does everybody know where they're going tomorrow? Like on Tuesday at your faculty meeting, like, does everybody understand so they can?
And remind them that they have to bring out charged computer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we'll need to make sure that there's charging locations with, that there's enough electricity in the rooms. They're called, I don't know.
So the high school kids.
We have 2 outlets.
These are great questions.
All right. Any other questions on part one? We want to make sure we spend time on parts 2 and 3 so you feel good about it. So, Jerry?
You talked about the video was really helpful.
Yes.
The one part, like at the 3-minute mark where it gave the timeline.
Mhm.
I know it's coming later. We talked about, is there benefit just after the video having that slide just to reassure people that this is not a quick process, this is over time. And we're gonna talk more about that today, but that's gonna pop on people's minds, just
Mhm.
acknowledging that and saying that we're being intentional about how we're rolling this out today and throughout the rest of this year and the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving the timeline slide up, like when you make your copy, I think.
Okay.
It's coming up in part 2,
In less than.
and yeah, it'll be the 3rd slide in part 2.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Jerry. Like make it, and again, I want to reiterate that, make it your own. You can move slides around once you make a copy or keep, but just remember the blue are things that we want everyone to hear and see and get the same message. If it's in a blue title, that means we want the same message. So just want to make sure that they're seeing it, but you can rearrange it as needed.
Nice thing is that slide 18 also goes along with that. And like Dr. Kimberly said, that you might take 3 steps forward and 3 forward, and 5 steps back.
Yeah.
I'll be in my brains.
All right, Brennan, part 2.
Part 2. All right, so part 1, half hour, right? Take a look at this visual up here of your agenda, just so we can see where we are. From 8:30 to 9 o'clock, you have to do all the things on that part 1 checklist. And we forgot to put the times on your actual checklist, so you might want to add these times on there. Part 1 is 8:30 to 9. Here comes part 2, 9 o'clock to 11:15. You also have controlled breaks. I don't think anybody needs a break yet. We've only been in there for a half hour, but within this 9 o'clock to 11:15, you're going to want to plan a bathroom break for people. For part 2, you're taking them to lunch. So this whole next part, you're on stage as a facilitator till lunch. And just so you can picture what's coming after lunch is the heaviest part.
People be doing.
Which is why you have 3 hours in there to do it. That's the essential standards, deconstructing standards, scope and sequence, all the stuff. Before lunch is all the setup. It's all the background. It's basically the first 2 days of your facilitator training in 2 hours. We took the best parts of it. All right, part 2. The agenda is up there for you again to show them kind of where they are in the day. You're going to introduce part 2 by giving some norms. All right, you've heard from our superintendent. This is the plan. You watched the video. You've got the who, what, where, when, why. We're going to work together all year, everyone. So let's set some norms. We chose some norms for you, but please feel free to edit the norms as you need them. After the norms is where you introduce the timeline, because that was quick on the video. You might want to go through this timeline. And I am a big, like, do not put up a slide unless you ask people to interact with it or they're not going to read it. So what we did was create some true and false questions for you to make them interact with the content. So display the timeline and then say, I'm going to ask you some questions. True or false? All curriculum for all courses needs to be written by the end of this year, and make them say false. So they are interacting with the timeline, or they might not actually be reading the timeline. Curriculum mapping will continue into next school year. True. Oh, I thought it was just this year. No, it's next year. Look at the timeline. And ask them questions like, when will we implement cornerstone experience? That's a big thing swirling in people's heads because we told them it was going to start at the beginning of this year. Then we had to kind of backtrack and say, we get it. It was a lot. We're going to start implementing. When is it according to the timeline? Do you remember? 26, 27 for cornerstones. So this is basically just making them interact with the timeline. You can add or delete as you see fit. Answer any questions. This is a huge thing. You don't know everything. Neither do we, right? We've never done this before as a district. Record anything you can't answer on your exit survey. Someone asks you a question, say, I don't know. That's a great question. Hey, note taker, who are my note taker in the room? Please write that question down and I'm going to put it on the exit survey. Don't feel like you need to know all the answers. Okay. After the timeline, you're going to talk to them about that messy journey of curriculum mapping. And again, there are talking points here for you to say. The next slide is black, but I can tell you that last week in science, they used this activity and it went really well. So this activity is a Post-it note activity where you're basically asking them, what are your hopes for the school year? What kind of supports do you think? And then
additionally, there is a component where you are going to be asking about what are your frustrations for this process. So you're going to provide them about 3 minutes to think about those hopes for curriculum mapping. What do they hope to get out of it? And our goal is that through this process, you're addressing those and that their hopes are being accomplished, that their needs are being addressed and the supports are being addressed. And then after you do that, they're going to put it on the Post-its around the room for hopes, needs. Then you're going to give them about 2 minutes to list out any frustrations they have. Because we know people have gone through a curriculum writing process in different ways in the past, there might be frustrations that they have regarding curriculum or regarding materials, resources, additional needs. And we want to provide that voice for them to use to say, I have this frustration. I'm not confident that blah, 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 whatever the reason may be, and to put those frustrations down so that way we can make sure through this process, we're addressing those frustrations and providing the necessary support for our colleagues.
And remember, just like Jen, keep all of your questions, like when she went through part 1, we're going to have a break after I go through part 2 for you to ask lots and lots of questions. This was the replacement for the elephant in the room activity that we were going to do because this went really well at science last week. We decided just to go in this order. We did say it's optional because science won't need to do it because they already did it. But I do think it's like a black/blue slide.
I do recommend doing this because it allows everybody to get their concerns, frustrations, needs out. And then through this, it also allows you to do like a little gallery walk to see like, oh, what is somebody else in the room feeling or hopeful about? Or, hey, this person also has this frustration. I'm going to stick a check mark next to that one. So that way we can honor the voices that we have within the room and just make sure that we are really addressing and supporting everything that's listed.
All right. After that, it might be time for a little energizer, or you might just want to like set the stage on like, what do you know about curriculum? So we put in there the booklet that you did on day 1 of curriculum facilitation. If you feel like you know your people best and they would rather do some other kind of game or energizer, you can feel free to substitute that for something else. But everything is linked in there for you, just like you went through it as someone in the facilitation training. Next is curriculum mapping resources. We kind of hinted to this when we showed you this document with everyone's names on it. The science team found it very helpful to have a document last week to go to where everything was. So we created already a document for every subject area. It's already been set up for you. Your job at this point would be to show people where that is. And Becca's going to take you through the document.
So we utilize these documents in the summer work that we did with K-5 scope and sequence for ELA. We created one for personal finance and we utilized one for science as well. We saw the benefit in having necessary information. They have a little play button next to them, so you should utilize that as you're going through the process. But we found housing the information that's easily accessible in one location virtually in a digital format is helpful for the process, because then everybody knows exactly where to go. Everybody knows exactly how to access the information. In addition, we did talk about the kits that you guys will have in your classroom. We do know that people also like physical copies as well. So we have provided physical copies of anything that's listed in here in the kits, in addition to the digital components. Additionally, you can see we organize them by like tools to access. This is one that we're going to be going over a little bit later through the slide presentation. You've got the DOK wheel, you've got the recap, which is that Think, Ink, Share. So these are all things that you can produce out. There's some like this one that I did not include in the kit, but after today, we're going to give you time to go through those kits and think about, you know what, I would like physical copies of those. I do want to use those in my classroom. That way we can give you everything that you need to start the process. Again, the protocols are listed throughout as well, so you can go directly a link. We'll have the physical copies within there, in addition to the curriculum map review protocol, essential standards. We've got the deconstruction protocol, and then we also have things that you will work on as you're completing these sessions. So like the action plan template, we'll talk about that. You can link your copy of your presentation in this document. That way everybody can access it. So you've got your presentation linked in one place as well. And then we listed out all of the days. And as you're collaborating with your facilitators, or if you're a standalone facilitator, or you're collaborating with other administrators, grade levels, you can build out your agenda based on the action plan that you develop. So that way you've got an idea of what I need moving forward through this process. And we try to make it organized by date. And then you can even drag some of those components, make a copy if there's something at the top and you're like, we're going to cover this on this day. I want to move it down here as well. You can put it there as well. So you have the choice to make this what you need it to be and craft it really to the groups that you have.
This is the art example, and one has already been created for every subject area, and it's yours to personalize.
Can we just go back? Is the starting point to get to this in the presentation?
No, it's in the staff list where they find out where to go to each room.
Okay,
That's going to be sent out to them.
okay.
We do have it linked in the presentation.
It is linked to the presentation, but they wouldn't have the presentation yet.
You do.
So it's in where they find out where their room is.
The other piece is I have added all the facilitators onto these. So if you are a facilitator, you are already on the subject area document. I started adding the group members onto those. I haven't finished. I've gotten through some of them. So some of them by the end of next week, everybody will have all of their group members on the documents as well.
And Marie, you know your school, right? You might be able to send it out to them. Like if this is too much for people to have to like go and find this document, your little email like, hi Marie, I'm facilitator. This is the document we're gonna need. That's the thing. Right? Does that help? All right. Next, you're gonna go over types of maps with them. We spent a long time on types of maps. That was for information for you as a facilitator. We felt like they only needed one slide on that. It's quick. It's, hey, can you guess what type of map we're gonna be doing this year? Formats, and you're moving on. Next, you're going to go over mapping terminology with us. This is your option as a facilitator to try to get all of that enduring understanding, targets, tools, techniques into their head. We think doing a brain dump like you guys did, and then trying to categorize them into targets, tools, and techniques, and then playing bingo would be a fun way to do that. If you feel like your group probably that would not be a good idea, you decide how you're going to get that, but it's not an optional get the information to them, it's the optional play bingo. All right, so that's your choice as a facilitator, how you're going to deliver that information to them. But we timed this out. We think you can do all of these things in this 2 hours and 15 minutes. After bingo or whatever you're going to do, it might be time for a break. You move the break slide wherever you need it. After a little break, we have a spark if you would like it for them to do a would you rather. You could move these around as you need to. Remember, you guys went through this in facilitation training. Now it's time for really really important stuff that sets up the afternoon, which is talking about backwards design. Remember, we talked about understanding by design, backwards design, and then we have some slides in here for you about the different stages. We talked about stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, the acronym of REAL that we came up with, taking through each stage, but then how are you going to get them to interact with that material? You could do a turn and talk like the Q triple SA that we did. You can also do the play, and that's linked for you in here. Remember, we did a mini play, which was really fun, but you know your people. I don't know if that, do you see Joel Olkowski wanting to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. You guys know your people best. And then there are those scenarios, which I think this really hit home for people and went really well. So it is a black slide, but do you remember these scenarios that we went through? We would say, is this backwards design or not? And we had a lot of debate back and forth if it was or if it wasn't. And again, there's 8 of them. You don't have to go through all 8 scenarios. We're coming to the end of part 2. Part 2, the next part is new. So we want to put a big star next to this, the Atlas template scavenger hunt. Do you remember you guys did, well, I have to say with the mic started. Do you remember you all did a scavenger hunt? You did an awesome job with the scavenger hunt. What did you have access to at the time that they're not going to have access to? Atlas. Like, they're not in Atlas yet. They haven't been introduced to Atlas. So why would we have them do a scavenger hunt in Atlas when they haven't been introduced to Atlas yet? So this is different. You did not do this during your facilitation training. Becca's handing it out now, basically just went into Atlas and printed out the template for them. So they're doing a scavenger hunt in Atlas without being in Atlas. So they're getting the good content of finding different things on the template, but they don't actually have to log into the program to do it. So this is a new activity. That's why I wanted you to put a star next to this. It is optional, but we all think it's a very good activity to introduce them to our new template. There are some questions, pretty simple questions like, what 3 words describe the targets? It's like a textbook thing that you do with your kids at the beginning of the year if you're trying to do like a scavenger hunt. It is pretty plug and play. They go and find the words and they write down the words. They just say them out loud. You would need to make copies of the template if you would want to do it. Not everyone in your room needs a copy of the template. You could say like, all right, you 4 share this template and answer the questions.
Don't you think this should be then mandatory?
We have different groups in different spots. Like science already did that. That's why we didn't make it mandatory.
Science only 6 to 8.
Yeah, so that's why we've tried to make it, we could say it's highly suggested, this part.
I mean, this is something like instead of bingo, this is something that I would do.
Instead,
I would agree.
I would agree. We could make it mandatory,
And
but
Becca
it was
said
something
she-
you guys didn't experience yourself, so we kind of like, it's a new thing. Rebecca, I know I'm taking questions now, but I think it's okay. Rebecca.
I'm concerned about adding Atlas. I know we had talked about that.
It's hard to say, it's not.
It's almost a
Atlas,
curriculum
it's the
template.
template itself. What are they going to be?
Anywhere near that, or we, like, my research, anywhere near that at the time.
So the reason that we're doing this is to front load that information because they need to have this knowledge to guide them through the next components for thinking about those essential standards and then deconstructing the standards.
So
Because we've created really an individualized template that doesn't necessarily follow the same components that their traditional curriculum apps might have followed, we want to make sure that they're aware of these components because it does connect to the essential standards and the deconstructing standards.
And it's almost that end in mind where it's like, well, what do you want, what's it gonna look like without getting too deep into it? But I hear what you're saying.
Yep.
If you think it's too much to call it the Atlas template, we could call it the curriculum unit template or something.
Yeah.
Unit template.
There's so many people that.
They'd be like, what's Atlas?
Get scared instantly, and
Yes.
let them know it's by.
It could just be called the unit template.
one of the things we experienced when we had 6th through 8th science in and personal finance was that without giving them like this little bit, this just enough background knowledge, they couldn't get past like, what exactly are we doing? Like, where's this going? What's the big picture? what is it gonna look like? There were a lot of like questions, and this seemed to be just enough to be like, okay, I understand, like, why am I gonna, like, in the afternoon, go through deconstructing standards, like, it just gives enough of the big picture.
Without having them all log in. So
Without having anyone log in or get overwhelmed by another platform.
Basically, we're not gonna be touching the platform until later in the year, so we can actually finish. Whenever our group is ready is when you'll be introduced to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that they were tables. I think that like keeping Atlas is important. That's the format we're gonna use.
Yeah, you could just say, this is the format, it's called, Atlas is the name of the thing, don't worry about that. I just wanted to get you familiar with the other thing is, we want to show them that targets, tools, and techniques that we did in June didn't go away. Too, that it all is connected. So speaking of Atlas, we may want to rethink this next part. We thought that it might be time, but think about it for your group. All you would be doing is projecting and showing them a quick that this matches this, because all of your fears went like this when you realized that you just had to transfer this into here. They're not logging in, like it clearly says here. Do not have anyone else log in, only you log in. You are familiar with it. You've been in it before. You can say, you're not even going to get this until October or whenever. You would show them that the I explains everything to you, like content, language. It would be a quick first look.
And one of the things I just want to jump in right now, Atlas is still in the rough form that everyone right now is just set as a viewer and they don't have editing access. And we kind of purposely did that because we just didn't want them jumping the gun and putting anything in there.
All right, I think there's 2 more slides before part 2 is done, and then we'll take some more questions. Then you're going to give them, you're not going to take them through this process, but you're giving them a high level overview of these 4 steps and saying, this afternoon, we're diving in here. Step 1, identifying, this is part 2, part 1, part 2. I gave you the background. After lunch, we're diving in to step 1, which is identifying essential standards, then unpacking, deconstructing those standards, grouping and sequencing the standards, and then finally getting to that curriculum template that I just showed you. You give them a high level overview. We gave you some guiding questions that we think, like, have we ever done this before? English at the high school will be like, yes, we've done this. And you say, okay, well then we're going to enter here. And you're going to show them the entry point for your subject area. We gave you some other guiding questions. Where do you think we should start this afternoon? What part do you think will take the longest to finish? Just some overarching questions. One more slide, which is, hey, I'm going to dismiss you to lunch now. And I just wanted to give you a preview of this afternoon. When we come back, we're going to make an action plan together, which is saying how long we think this is going to take, who needs access to what in Atlas at some point. We're going to start unit planning, and then we're going to take an exit survey. You dismiss them to lunch at 11 o'clock. And then when you come back from lunch, you start part 3.
So I want to give you some time to process that, right? There was 66 slides that you need to spend some time looking at. You need to spend some time thinking about. Like, I really like the Atlas discussion. I'm more along the lines that I think you as the facilitators, and as Erica said, you can't break it. It's view only. Like, I think it should be at the front of the room, right? We don't want to hold any punches to anyone. Everything should be transparent. This whole process from day one has been very transparent. It has involved everyone's voice. So it's okay to say, this is how we're going to curriculum map. And we've made the changes. I believe that'll be blue for the scavenger hunt. We will be using Atlas, and here's what it looks like. I think it's okay to pull it up and show it as long as you feel comfortable with it, right? And that's where our support can come in to help you with that, because you just want to show them what it looks like. Because Atlas, as we've learned, and as I've learned, I can only speak for myself, is a really good tool. I mean, it is really user friendly. And I think it rocks. It's a really cool tool to use. So anyway, let's spend 4 minutes with those 66 slides at your table, thinking about what that looks like, sounds like, feels like, wrapping you up until lunchtime, and then what questions do you have from that we want to document and try to answer for you? All right? All right, go.
Or is someone ready? I'm gonna be, it's really collected. Yes. Here's what here's what we want. Now it's like that. Yeah, I know.
It makes me very emotional. I see that it's very, yeah.
I mean.
The pause, actually.
It's like back to Christmas.
I'll take out and make sure that.
Yeah, take one, make no.
Yeah.
For those of you that.
And then you go relay.
So
For now.
Five, ELA is 17. That's not. So they asked if they could split K2 and 3 phones. And they said Aaron and Jackie can do 5, and then whoever's like 2. We can make that change right now. All right, let's make that change on the curriculum mapping. We do, there's extra room. Where's that? They're on the bottom floor. Yeah, they're on the bottom floor, all around, like they're in the folders, they're everything, your rooms for ELA and stuff.
I told you, I feel like we probably should have just.
I asked them, they kind of asked them, somebody, and then we started together. So then, I think it's only. Nice.
If we have 103 and we need somebody nearby, like a room next to or across from, can you tell me another room that's next to or across from?
105, Kelly's, right?
Is next door, yeah.
Well, 105. 105.
Kelly Bergen's place.
So how about you?
Okay.
Let's put the other one is, let's
In
put under
105?
upper 3.
That's a good idea. And facilitators are.
Well, don't forget Kelly has the flexible seating in her classroom.
Okay, we avoided her room on purpose at the beginning, but now we.
So Tricia
We
and
could use Mark Williamson's.
Can you check it?
We could use Williamson's room. We didn't use that yet. And Aaron's not listed on there, but Aaron goes to decades. And Trisha Laughlin and Meg Driver. Megan Berger and Good idea.
Bring you back in 5,
He's a patient man, but he's reached his limit with him.
3. Kelly, you ready to document some questions? 2 and 1. Katie, questions?
I don't have a question. I have just such a deep sense of feeling supported in doing this work. And I just want to recognize the hours of work that has gone into creating this document, the intentionality, the affect of the teachers, how this is going to be received, the teaching components of it, and using what we know are good teaching strategies and not just talking at the teachers, like soup to nuts. I am so impressed with this, and I feel so supported as a facilitator who's not feeling 100% confident in my knowledge base in continuing this work, knowing that this guide has my back. We did have a couple of suggestions. One of them is on slide 78 for the steps for unit planning, adding above step 4 the Atlas icon. So that we're associating the curriculum map template with Atlas and just further embedding that as the tool that we're using, so that Atlas becomes less scary.
I'm recording it, so I'm not ignoring you.
I hear you. That's a good idea.
And thank you for that feedback. The team has worked really hard.
So we have another thought. This is awesome. My old eyes cannot read it at all because of the size of the font. So we can have a digital access link to this as well, so that some of us will need to enlarge and enlarge.
Yeah, link to the bottom of the slide.
It is linked in the slide with the PDF.
Yeah, it's a screenshot of Atlas. So that's why it's like, what? Yeah, it's not the great, but it is enough for a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, and we do it just so that some people,
Yeah,
because some people might look at me like I can't hunt.
I agree. I agree.
Any other questions? Right? We're through lunch. You just enjoyed lunch. So how was it? Hopefully it was good. It was nourishing. It was healthy. It was good. So we're back from lunch and now we're ready for part 3. And the lift gets a little bit heavier, cognitive.
So like we shared, in part 3, we're really thinking about, okay, we've covered all these foundational components. We're at a point, we have done some activities, we know where we need to go. And this is the part where the work is really going to, and when I say it's going to get heavy, it is heavy. It is a huge cognitive load. And we saw this summer when we did this work with personal finance, when we did this work with scope and sequence for ELA K5, and when we did this work with science teams. So we really want to be intentional about essentially building that foundation of knowledge ahead of time, so that way we can engage in really thoughtful, productive work in the afternoon.
I think it's a worthwhile for you to think back to Tuesday. Remember Tuesday, the second day when you were all like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But then on Wednesday, you had really pushed through that. You may want to share that with them. Like, I get it. I experienced this cognitive lift. It will be okay.
So
Bring chocolate, lots of chocolate.
But not mints.
Not me.
if you would like us to stack your kits with like goodies and treats and things like that, put that on your little list. We're going to talk about that at the end. But part 3, we're gonna go into, again, there's some spark activities you can engage them in. It might be just a nice activity to get people moving back after lunch, because we know after we eat, sometimes our bodies just get a little full, get a little tired, and we want to keep people engaged throughout the process. So we've got the curriculum lingo, the memory challenge. You can go through those activities. And then this is our action plan. So in your subject area document, we thought it's a great idea to sort of plan out the work that we're going to be doing, knowing these are the steps we have to take, and this is our timeline that we've already covered. If you want to add that timeline slide back in before you get to that point, you have the autonomy to say like, hey, we're going to move that timeline slide back here because now we're going to talk about this action plan. You want to identify for which courses the team will write curriculum maps by May 2026. Some of your teams might have to prioritize which courses you're going to write for first. So you want to make sure, especially at the secondary level, you're identifying those courses and you're prioritizing and building those out in your plan. You also want to identify who the developers will be for writing permissions in Atlas. So that's something we've talked a little bit about Atlas. You're going to build that into your timeline just so we can do some work on the back end when it gets to that point that your team needs that access in Atlas. And then for which courses will the team write the curriculum maps by May 2027? So our goal is to have those courses here that you're writing for and those courses here that you're writing for. In that subject area document, you'll see that there's a really blank template in here. You can craft this and add additional columns if you need to within this template. Ultimately, you're staging out where you are in the process. Maybe you're on essential standards already. Science 6 through 8 is already on unit planning because they did some essential standard work and deconstructing work already. So you're going to identify your steps and stages that you're on, and then you're going to identify the work that you are going to either complete or that you've completed towards that step. Additionally, you're going to note, what do you need further? So if you're stuck somewhere, this is information that we're going to use to say, hey, we need to support this team more. They need more time on essential standards, or they need alternate slides for deconstructing standards. So that way we can help support you and build what you really need to get through this process. So essentially, you're going to work together with your team to develop your action plan. And you might be at a point where you're saying, okay, I can plan out this day. This should be September 22nd. And I can plan out this day. And let's see where we end up right here before we plan out October and on. So it's going to depend on your group, what their needs are and what you really think you can get done in here. And then as you go, you're going to plan the rest out. This will guide us in supporting your work with your teams and allow us to get you the necessary things that you need to keep the work going. So this is where the heavy lift comes into play. It's identifying those essential standards versus supporting standards. When we did this work with the science teams, we had talked ahead of time prior to the session with them, and we said, you know what would be really helpful? A tool that we can use to help people sort out if it's really an essential standard or if it's a supporting standard for my team and my content area. So we created this essential standards identification tool. This has had various revisions just through the summer as we were utilizing it to make it something that was useful for your team to identify what was essential and what was not. And I'll give you an example. So we were with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science. 6th grade science said, okay, I think these are my essential standards. Let me look at my resource. Let me look at this piece. I've identified this one. And then they started going through the tool and they said, I don't think this is an essential standard. I think this supports this standard here. And so they were able to talk through the process, fill this out, and identify the standard that they thought was essential was actually a supporting standard. 8th grade had identified 4 essential standards. And as they were working through that process, this was just for one unit, one plan they were working on. They said, you know what, we've got 4 essential standards. They are all essential. We must teach all of them. We must cover all of them fully. And then they went through the process, were asking the questions, answering the questions, talking through it. And then they said, no, we only have 3 essential standards. They kept going through the process and they said, actually, we only have 2 essential standards and all of these other standards are supporting standards. ELA K-5 did similar work when they were working on their scope and sequence this summer as well. They did not have this tool, but we thought of it after the fact because we saw the work that they did and trying to think and process through. So we hope that this is useful. We will give you time to take a look at this at the end and then give any feedback as to like, I think we should have this question in here, or maybe we should reword this way so my team can better understand it. So we do want feedback to make this useful for you, and we will make necessary adjustments to this so that way it can be utilized. But this process took a lot longer than anticipated, similar to the work you guys did when you were doing the deconstructing standards. Identifying the essential standards, we do have in the document past work that teams have done with identifying essential standards. So for those that have those essential standards 2 years ago, I want to say we did this work listed on there. You might want to go back to that document and say, are these truly essential standards? Do we need to revisit this? Or did we really go through that process and they really are essential standards? We do have some departments that really have ironed out what their essential standards are. So this process might take a shorter amount of time for them. And then we have others that really need to go back and say, I think we need to rethink this. I think these are supporting standards and this is our essential standard. Again, supporting standards are still important. However, your essential standards are the ones that you will be deconstructing. So think about and be thoughtful of your group and the time it might take. And you might notice that this might take longer or this might take less time for your groups, depending on where they are. So that's where you've got the autonomy within your groups to say, you know what, we're going to spend this amount of time on here. I'm going to pull this Spark activity out because I need to focus on this. Or, hey, this was a heavy lift and I'm adding that break in so that way we can just process, decompress, do a quick stretch, and then get back to the work. You will have these in all of your kits that you will get. So you'll have copies of these. But again, today we'll take some feedback on this. If there's adjustments that need to be made to this, we can do that as well prior to you having and using this next week. We did provide slides for the directions on utilizing this as well. So you can talk through that. There's slides on there. And then we have the deconstructing standards, similar to the essential standards. We provided you a copy of the deconstructing standards in here as well. So you will have a copy of that tool that you utilize for that. So again, we have the paper copy. And what you do have in your subject area document, you have this as a tab in your document. You have the choice. You might have your team say, you know what, I really want to all do this. We want to use paper to deconstruct our standards. We identified our essential standard. We identified one essential standard. And now I want to walk through the process of deconstructing it. You're not going to be able to deconstruct all essential standards just in one day. So this is going to be an ongoing process that you're going to be revisiting through the PD days throughout the year. That's where that action plan comes into play. You're going to say, okay, we were able to identify some essential standards, deconstruct those standards on this day. On this day, it's going to be a heavy focus on taking the rest of the essential standards and deconstructing those standards on the following days. So you have this within your subject area document. And what we did with science, because some were at the level where they wanted to utilize this during as a digital tool, they made a copy and they labeled it 7th grade C.12. And that way they worked it, go to the 6 through 8 one. Yeah, we'll show you an example of what that looks like, just so you can see how they organize that work digitally. Then we also had, like, the 6th grade team said, I need to do all of this on paper and I need to actually write it out to like see it. I need a pencil so I can erase it and then work through it that way. So you have the choice as to how you would like that to work within your department. Yes.
Just to make sure we're on, is this the time for questions?
You can.
Okay. Just to make sure we stay on this timeline because it's a lot. Would it be, I'm just trying to map it out for, again, K-12 to help in PE.
Yep.
Like in small groups. All right. The high school teachers, we're focusing on 9th grade health, and we're going to look and find those essential standards today. middle school teachers, you're gonna focus on sixth grade help and focus.
I need to separate it out like that. The other piece of information that you want to make sure you are thinking about and utilizing in there, while you're doing that, you also want some collaboration to come into play because you don't want seventh grade to identify an essential standard, eighth grade, and there's no connection to those essential standards that have been identified. Essentially, you want some of those standards where they can to build upon each other. And that's some of the work that K5 ELA did this summer is they said, okay, we've identified this. Hey, nobody else identified this piece here. Was this an essential standard or was this a supporting standard for us? So really thinking through that process as well. And that's why we say that's going to take time for that collaboration and discussion to occur. So I would say as you're identifying or going through those essential standards documents, engaging your group in those discussions about, is this really essential? Is the coherence across the board?
Is there time built in anywhere for cross-building collaboration? As 6 to 8 building, we're receiving and sending, and we need to make sure that we've got connections on both.
There will be. And when you are doing the facilitation, so that's why we grouped everybody near each other. So for example, like ELA, you guys can be in different rooms, but you're near in the same area. You can bring each other together. You can collaborate with the other facilitators and say, hey, at this point in time, I think we need to come together to look at everything and see if we're moving in the right direction for coherence and alignment. Yes.
So you guys, I'm looking at 87, you had us doing an action plan.
Yep.
But then after the action plan is the essential versus supporting standards, must-haves versus nice-to-haves. Would it be a more feasible action plan if people have already thought through that first?
You can do that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you can move that where you need to in the slides. The groups, some of the groups again are in like a different position. So you have the choice to say like, hey, we need to get through this first. Science 6-8 already did that. So they don't need to go through that again. They just need to get back to their deconstructing standards and their unit plans again. So you have the choice to say, this is our presentation. I need to move this to this end so we can really think through this and then say, this is how much time it took us this day. And this is how much time we're going to need to plan out through the year to do this.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking that there are going to potentially be some groups that think they're further along.
That are not.
And so they might make an action plan under that assumption, but then actually get into the work and realize like, oh my gosh, no, we're not. Or just try to skip those steps, assuming that they kind of have.
And I think some of the logic why we put this earlier, just because mainly those are high school.
Yes.
The math department can't write statistics, AP calculus.
They have to
algebra
say.
too.
They have
So they
to
had
say
to prioritize, so maybe we copy this slide and that, so that was logic why we put it up.
It's almost a course action plan,
Yeah.
rather than an action plan for the whole year. Like ELA, you don't need to do this action plan because you know you're writing it for ELA 6, ELA 7, ELA 8.
Yeah.
It's really for like world language. Are we gonna write it for Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3, Spanish speakers? Like, it's
How can we prioritize?
but we thought it was just high school, but then like related arts, K through 12.
Yep.
In kind of the same boat too. So music might be in the same boats. I feel like you wouldn't probably use the sports action. Maybe we should have called it that.
We can call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was basically choose which courses you're gonna go.
I do like the idea though of having, once people have a sense of where they're.
Yeah.
I do like
Oh,
Come back to it again.
of saying, here's the plan, because
Yeah.
this conversation can go off the rails.
Yeah.
And to have a skeletal kind of.
And bring you
outline of
back.
where we want to go is helpful.
And you can, as you're going through this process, this might become like quick and easy for your group. And you can say, hey, initially we planned that it was going to take us this amount of time to get through it. We're going to revise that. It's not going to take us that long. We're going through here. Yep. So you can revise that. It's a fluid plan for you, but it's giving you those checkpoints. So you can say, oh, we're taking a little bit longer here. We might need more support here. Notify us, we can get you the more support, or we can make adjustments throughout that process to get you where you need to be. Again, there's additional sparks after you do that. You might be at the point where this takes you through the end of that day before you get to the exit survey, and that's okay. If you notice, hey, everybody identified one essential standard and deconstructed one standard, and that took us through the whole afternoon, which it might. Then you make the choice as to like, maybe we did need a little break in the afternoon, I can use the Spark activity. But then we're ending the day with a survey, and this end of day survey, we're gonna do after each PD session that we do. And the purpose of this is really to give us a progress status of where you are within your groups. So we can make those adjustments throughout the process as well. We've created an action plan from that facilitation session that we had. And this allows us to say, okay, this group is here, this group is here, and really craft the information you might need throughout the year for where you are.
So we did not embed the link right in the presentation because we don't want all the members of your group going there if you were to copy this presentation. So just for a note, it's in the, we're gonna put it in the notes. Oh,
There it
it's
is,
here. It's in load. But you're just filling out one for the whole room.
And then we end it with going through those next steps. You've done that action plan, you're thinking about it. It's showing you where those next steps are, when you're gonna revisit again. You might wanna say, before we get to this date on here, this is what we're working on, this is where we're going. So-and-so is tasked with this, so-and-so is tasked with this, and we come back together, this is where we're gonna start.
Okay, so we've taken you through parts 1, 2, and 3. And we still need some time to process what you've heard holistically. You need some time to dig into your bins. We've got about 35 minutes together for the rest of this afternoon or rest of this morning. So I think it makes sense to use this time to, one, if you have any questions that you want to answer right now, we can do that. But I think it's also important to honor the time so that you can have some time to collaborate with one another, have some time to think about, process, look at it again, look through your bin, see what's there. We'll use this information or this board here if you have questions or things that you still want. That's going to go here on this document. In your bins, you'll see kind of an inventory checklist of items as you go through there. If you see in your bin, I'd really like item A, B, or C. Write that down, what you're looking for, we'll add that to your bin, right? Everybody will have their own personalized bin. Right now, they're all generic, but if you have some things that you want for your personalized bin, we can put that there. Okay, so summarize for the next 35 minutes, process the information you've heard, we'll get you your bins. You can look through that, process that information, collaborate with one another. We'll come back together about 12:20-ish, 12:25, and then make any closing statements before we get ready for next week. Sound okay? All right.